this video, we will see how T-Box does to send email and file through FTPs. In previous videos, we have seen how to define data logging, how to create reports. Now let's see how this data can be sent by mail and by FTP. Before that, let's just take a look to how sending mail and FTP works and what we need. Okay, sending email means that T-Box is a client to a SMTP server. It sends the mail through this SMTP server to a mailbox. The mailbox constitutes the recipient. So to send a mail, we need a connection to an SMTP server, and this requires an email account. This email account can be the same for all T-Box. We need a condition for sending the mail, which is a tag. We need a recipient, which is an email address. And we need data to send, which can be a message. A message sent by email will be available in the subject of the mail and in the body of the email. To send the file through FTP, we need a connection to an FTP server. In fact, FTP protocol does a file copy from one place to another place. So the recipient for an FTP connection is a folder in which we will copy the file from T-Box into the FTP server. We need a connection to an FTP server with or without authentication, we will see, a condition, which is a tag, a recipient, which is a directory, data to send, which in this case can only be a report, because remember, it's a file copy, so we need a file. Now let's see in TwinSoft where we can configure that. So in TwinSoft we will use the alarm mechanism for sending the files, as well email and FTP. But before we can define the recipient, we have to associate them to a server. So, and the server, you declare them into the IP parameters and you see the possible connection to server we have. We will just see now the FTP and the SMTP server. So we have to add a SMTP server in order to connect and then through this server send the mail to the recipient. The SMTP server, I will take, for instance, Gmail. So I call my server Gmail and I will enter the settings. Setting is complete. Remember, you need to have an email account for T-Box. So in my case, I have created an email account at Gmail for the T-Box. The connection is through the GSM. You can use any IP communication. Gmail requires encryption, SMTPS, and it requires authentication. Regarding authentication, you might encounter some issues using web mails. Sometimes web mails require two-step verification. Two-step verification is, for instance, you receive a code by SMS and you have to type this code into an interface in order to proceed. Well, of course, T-Box cannot do that. This happens if, for instance, the source of the mail sender changes, which is the case. If you use the same email account for multiple T-Box, you will have different sources sending mail. In order to prevent this two-step verification, Gmail provides a procedure which I made available in this document, and this document is the document detailing a little bit the feature we see in the videos. So this document is available also on the website, so you can just, for Gmail, this is for Gmail exclusively, you can follow this procedure for preventing the two-step verification. This is it for SMTP server. Now let's configure the FTP server. So I go to the IP parameters FTP server, add an FTP server. My PC will constitute the FTP server. So I will connect through the Ethernet to my PC and send the file to my PC. So the name is my PC, for instance. The address is my PC address. FTP setting is complete, so I type the IP address of my PC. I communicate through the Ethernet, but once again you can select any IP port. Now in terms of connection to an FTP server, there are two modes, passive or active, and the login can be anonymous or with a name and password. This totally depends on the configuration of the FTP server. In my case, I use FileZilla server as FTP server. It can be downloaded freely and it's very easy to use. Now we have done with the two servers, SMTP and FTP. Now let's create the recipients. Add a recipient, and I will first add the email recipient. So I call it email. I select as type email, and you see that I can select a server. Well, I have only one, but you could imagine to define several servers. And the email address I have to define here. I will take the support.tbox@ovaro.com, that you know. You can put several email addresses separated by semicolon, and you can also define CC if you want. Okay, let's define the FTP recipient. It's FTP, for instance. I check FTP, then I see the FTP server I can access, which is my PC, and then I type the name of a directory. And the name of the directory, I will take training /%station%. Using this syntax, it means that the directory will take the name of my station. And remember, the name of my station is in the RTU properties, and it's John. So the directory John will be automatically created and data sent to this directory. Next step in our alarm configuration, the condition. So the condition is a tag. So I need tags to send email and to send FTP. So let's create two tags. So I'll add a tag, digital tag. I will make digital tags. I call it email. Okay, and I make another digital tag. I call it FTP. And those tags will be my alarm conditions. So I go into alarms, add an alarm, take email, and let's say that when email changes from 0 to 1, I will generate the alarm. We will see later on how I will make this tag changing from 0 to 1, but let's just configure the condition at the moment. Recipient, it's email, and then you see when you send an email, you can send either a message. The message will be written into the subject and in the body of the mail, or you can send a report. Let's take a report. And remember, in previous video, we have created several reports. And let's take my report, which has in attachment a TMA file, which is the binary of data logging of TBox, and the CSV also as attached file. Okay, my condition for sending email is done. Let's just do the same for the FTP. So I take my tag FTP, same type, positive edge, recipient, FTP, and then you see that when you do FTP, as FTP constitute a file copy, so you can only select a report. And I select the same report, and I do OK. I will add another alarm condition. Remember, we had created a report to send an image. The report was the intrusion report. And this report, if you remember, it includes a URL, and the URL was the URL to access the image of the camera. So I want to send this report when someone enters a building and opens the door. So remember, I have a tag door. So when this tag changes to 1, I want to receive an image. So let's make this as an alarm condition. Add an alarm. I take the tag door. Type positive edge, recipient email, and send the report, and select intrusion, and click OK. So I am done with my condition, and I am also done with the data I want to send because they was done in the previous video. Now let's see how those tags email and FTP will change. Those typically will be periodical report. So for generating periodical events, we have a dedicated folder with periodical events. A periodical events mean that T-Box will raise a tag according to a period, and all tasks associated to this rising edge will be executed. So if my alarm is here, email, positive edge of the tag email, if this tag email is configured as a periodic event, the alarm will be generated when the event occurs. So let's define the periodic events. So I click Add the periodic events. I select a tag, only digital tag names, email, and then you select which period you want. For instance, I want to send my email each day at 6 a.m. Okay. My report by FTP, I want to send them each 2 hours. So the period is 120 minutes, and you can select a reference time. For instance, each hour 30. So each 2 hours 30, I want to receive my file by FTP. So I take the tag FTP and select the period. Let's imagine, for instance, the SMS. You want to receive a test SMS each Monday at 8 a.m. Okay, so I will add a periodic event. The issue is that the tag does not exist. If the tag does not exist, when you are generating a feature, it's not an issue. You always have this window, new tag. You create the tag from here. I call it SMS. Okay, okay. And let's take Monday, 8 a.m. Okay, I have generated the event. So each Monday at 8 a.m., this tag will change from 0 to 1, and all the tasks associated will be carried on. So in my case, it's an alarm condition. So I will add an alarm condition. I take the tag I've just created, SMS, positive edge, because that's what will happen when the period happens. The recipient is myself, and it is test SMS. This is the message I will receive, and I click OK. So now I am ready to test all this, so I will now send to T-Box. Sending is complete. Now let's test first with the email. So remember, we have done some periodic events, so it means the tag will change at that moment. But this tag here, email, is a digital tag, internal variable. I can change myself. So in order to make a test, I can just press F4 on this tag, 1, and this will generate an alarm. Email goes through my GSM. So first, my GSM must connect, and then when it is connected, the email will be sent. So here is the mail that the support has received. So you see it's the report as we have created into Report Studio with runtime values for tank level and CPU temperature. No historical data because the report has been generated just after T-Box has restarted, and just one alarm at the moment, which is the current sending of the mail, which is of course not acknowledged yet because it's currently sending the mail. As attached file, I have my CSV file. So if I open my CSV file, well, I have the same information as I have here because I did put the same information into my CSV report, the table of alarms, and there is still no data for the water tower because it has been generated at the same time as my text file here. And my binary file that can be used by TView. As we are in sending mails, let's take a look to the sending of the image. You remember we have scheduled that in case of intrusion, someone opening the door, we would send an email with a report including an image. The image is this one, you remember? So this is the camera which is showing my T-box at the moment, but this image will be sent by report. So let's simulate this, and to simulate this I have to activate the door. So I simulate the opening of the door. So this simulates the opening of the door, and I can check that my T-box is sending mail. So remember, if we go to communication, retrieve T-box, alarms, we can check sending of mail. We see that the report is acknowledged, and by the way, the intrusion is also already acknowledged. So let's take a look. So it means that it has been sent successfully. So let's go back to the mail. So here is the mail with the small information I did type in the mail, which is the name of the station, date and time. And as an attachment, I have an image. So if I double click the image, I see the image at the moment when the door was opened. If we take a look to the mail, the from, so indicating where the mail comes from, this is something you can customize. So you see at the moment it's T-box underscore, the name of the station, the email address of the T-box. So this can be customized in T-box. So if I go back into my TwinSoft configuration, in RTU properties, in advanced, in alarms, I have a menu SMTP from. I have a field. T-box underscore percent station percent email. This can be customized. You can type any text, but it is always advised to leave at least the email, otherwise the server might consider the mail as a spam. Okay. Now let's test FTP. So as for email, FTP is sent through a digital tag, which is associated to a periodic event. But as an internal digital tag, I can change it myself manually. Let's take a look to what I have for testing the FTP. So I have FileZilla server that I can open. So I will see the activity between the server and T-box. And I have my FTP root directory, in which I have a directory training, and the directory with the name of my station should be created into this directory. So let's activate this tag. So you see FTP activity between the server. It has sent at the moment my report. Let's go back into my directory John. I have at the moment two files, my text file and my CSV file, but I should have one more file because in my original report, here it is, in my original report I had two attachments, the CSV and the TMA. Now they are all three there, and as you can see they have a unique file name. This is very important when you do FTP, because when you send a file, each time, well, the file would override themselves. So if they have the same name, they will override themselves. So you must have unique file name. By default, it's 2 characters for the year, 2 characters for the month, the day, date, time, and seconds. This can be customized, remember, in RTU properties, advanced, web and report, and this is the customization of the unique file name. Let's generate a new sending of files. So I activate my tag FTP again, so we see activity, so we see the first file has been generated. You see the name is different, so now it's 12:34 minutes. You see also that when you have multiple files sent with the same sending, with the same shot, I would say, the 3 files, they will have the same name. Even if the sending takes several seconds, the name is identical and correspond to the beginning of the sending. I remind you also something regarding the problem. If you have some problems, and don't forget that you can always take a look to the trace log. This trace log records all activity of T-Box, and it will show you the connection to the server, FTP, SMTP, the modem activity, the modem initialization, and so on. So everything will be recorded there. So I can check my sending FTP, so operation complete. I can see the generation of the file. I can see the connection to the server. If I go below, I should see the SMTP. So I had sent a mail before, so this activity, I can also see it. The connection to the Gmail, the exchange of the certificate. Everything will be recorded in the log, and it's very useful. This ends this video about sending files and email. We will now take a look to the questionnaire. The question for this video, so as usual, use always the same application. Create 2 digital internal tags, email and FTP, which will be our alarm condition. Configure a connection to an FTP server. It can be FileZilla or your own FTP server. Configure a connection to an SMTP server. For that, you need an email account. It can be any account. If it is a Gmail account, go to the settings and activate the application password. Configure the recipient's email and FTP. Configure the alarm conditions. Create periodic events associated to the tag email and FTP. Once you have sent the program, activate manually those alarm conditions. A periodic event is a digital tag that will change automatically, but as any digital tag, you can change it manually by forcing its value using F4. Take a snapshot of the email you have received. Send us the file you have received by FTP, and send us the application and the snapshot of the email. Good luck!